What's up guys, this is Chris here, and today we're going to be talking about a subject that I get asked about a lot, trying to figure out what gun you should get for self-defense that's under 200 bucks. Pretty in the weeds here, and there's not as much selection as there would be in the $300, $400, or $500 category, and I do have top fives in those categories, but I actually get this question asked to me all the time in my comment section. You know, if I only have 200 bucks, what gun should I get to defend myself? That's an interesting question, and don't worry, there are some options if that is your price point. There are even some options that are relatively good. So one thing you have to remember when you're talking about self-defense is what type. Are you talking about outside self-defense or inside self-defense? Are you talking about concealed carry, being able to protect yourself in public, or are you talking about home defense, like being able to protect your home, your castle, that kind of thing? You're also going to have to ask yourself a lot of questions to try to figure out what platform is right for you. But one thing I want to do first is mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys we have cool guns and ammo and all kinds of fun stuff we get to play with on the channel, and I try to give you the best information possible regardless of what the industry wants, so we really appreciate you supporting us for that. And if you want to support the channel, there's an easy way to do it. You just go to the link in the description of this video and all my videos and sign up for Patreon. Also in that description is a link to a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. It's a youth shelter in Ames, Iowa. Those kids can use your help, so please go down there, go to the donate page, and donate to those kids. Now, there's really a lot of platforms for self-defense. You have pistol caliber carbines, you have rifles, you have semi-automatic rifles, lever action rifles, bolt guns, pump guns, semi-automatic shotguns, double barrels, single barrels, that kind of thing. Then if you get into handguns, you got revolvers, single shots, semi-autos, you have big guns, small guns, but in the $200 price point, we are going to err on the side of reliability. If you're talking about a self-defense weapon, if you're talking about a weapon that you're going to use to protect yourself, the most important feature that it has is to be spotless in reliability. Even low-cost guns, a lot of what they sacrifice is going to be reliability and durability, but some of those guns sacrifice features in order for reliability, and that's sort of what we are going to err on the side today. So first up, we're going to talk about home defense. If you're looking to just defend your home, what should you get?
Get out of my house, nutsack!
Well, long guns are always better for home defense in my opinion because long guns are better in general. And the only reason people carry pistols in the first place is because you can't lug around a shotgun in public without raising a few eyebrows, and it's relatively uncomfortable. But in our home, we can keep a shotgun for home defense or self-defense, and it can be a multi-use tool. So the reason why most people in the country own a shotgun, I've very rarely been to any person's house in the country, in any state, let alone my state in Iowa, where they didn't own a shotgun, and that's because you can use it for dove hunting, you can use it for bird hunting, you can use it for deer hunting, you can use it for shooting clays, you can use it for just fun, right? And on top of that, you can use it as a very effective self-defense tool. And luckily, shotguns have been around a long time, and there are two main patterns or three main patterns or actions of shotguns, and they've been repeated by many companies over the years, reducing the price point. So first, I want to talk about the most inexpensive platform, and that's going to be the single shot shotgun. Now, if you have somewhere between $100 and $200, you can pretty reasonably afford one of these in most gun shops that you go to. Now, these are Midwest prices, keep this in mind, and if you're on the coast, they're going to be a little bit more expensive. However, in Iowa, I have seen these for as low as $100. This is my H&R Harrington and Richardson 20 gauge single shot. This is the first shotgun my dad bought me, and I shot my first 3 deer with this gun. Bead sight with just a couple extra ammo on the side, with just rifled slugs and a smooth barrel. So I had this little sleeve installed so I'd have some extra ammo because you only have one shot, which is good. You want more ammo on the gun if you only have one shot. I also have a limb saver pad on there because I got this gun when I was 12, and by the time I was 15 I was 6'4", so I needed a little extra pull. 20 gauge is a little left behind when it comes to the tactical negotiations or the tactical discussions on firearms. This is actually a 20 gauge, and a 20 gauge is sort of what I would recommend. And the reason why I would say that is because the differences between 12 and 20 gauge as far as lethality is very minimal. The differences between smaller statured people like your wife or kids, or even a skinny guy doesn't work out very much, and a person that's like my size being able to handle a 12 gauge is a big gap. So you want to have every person in your house that is of legal age and well trained to be able to use the self-defense weapon that you have in the house. You're not always in the house, and you want your wife to be able to defend herself if you're not around. In that case, she's going to be able to shoot a 20 gauge better. My wife is 5'2", and she can handle a 20 gauge really fine.
I love this thing.
I did not expect to love this, but I do. Super easy, super intuitive. I'm really surprised with this.
They are extremely reliable. Now you only get one shot, but there's very little to go wrong. You literally load the round into the breech, you close the breech, you pull the hammer, pull the trigger, and the gun goes off. And if you expend that round, all you do is push the lever, dump the round, and it will shoot out, reinsert a round, shut it, pull the hammer, and fire again. It's very intuitive, it's very easy for people to use. I know this because I started using this when I was 12 years old. I'm extremely effective with this. I can hit with slugs out at a distance of well beyond 100 yards, and with buckshot, it is extremely lethal out to about 25 yards. People talk a lot about reloading, they talk about capacity, but when you're talking about home defense engagements in real life, not in the movies, not made up shit, not overseas, but real life home invasions, if you pull a shotgun out and you fire a round, almost always, even if you hit them or not, it's going to be effective. Shotguns are dangerous, they're scary, and they're loud. And they're extremely effective if you land a successful hit. The chances of you having to shoot somebody, reload, and shoot another person in a home invasion with a shotgun is unlikely. The chances of you having to shoot somebody and then shooting them again is also unlikely. ER visits with a shotgun, even 20 gauge or 12 gauge, is like 95% lethal if you hit them in the midsection. Very effective gun, very simple to use, very, very cheap. Now, is this going to require a bit more training to use effectively? In some cases, yes. You're going to need some recoil control, and you are going to need to work on the fundamentals. Luckily, they're not that hard. You can simply work on them via dry fire, or you can shoot them at the range, get used to it, and you can get really good with something like this really fast. Good length of pull, easy, short, very light gun, easy to handle, and the recoil on a 20 gauge is very light. So for under $100, you can really buy a really effective self-defense tool. Is it more effective than a pump? No. Is it more effective than a double barrel? Nope. Is it more effective than an AR-15? Absolutely not. But can it be useful, and is it under 200 bucks? Absolutely. Now, let's talk about if you get lucky. And if you get lucky and you go to a gun store, or you go to an auction, or you go to a police trade-in and you find police trade-in firearms, or you find used firearms. And used firearms a lot of times are dismissed, but the reality is if it's a good firearm, it's good used too. It's just like a car. Some cars are shit right out of the factory, and some cars run forever. And in this case, the Mossberg shotguns and the Remington 870s, especially from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, are extremely effective even if they are used. Even if they are a police trade-in, they are going to work very well. This is the Mossberg Maverick 88. This is one of the new ones, and for sure the best self-defense tool under $200. Get a good pump shotgun that's reliable and durable, takes a good capacity, and has quite a payload. Many of these go used for well under $200, and they're extremely effective. They have all the pros of the H&R with the extra capacity and the added benefit of just knowing that you have more shots if you need them. It even looks scarier, which is nice, and it's really easy to use just like a single shot. Now, this one has a cross bolt safety instead of the standard Mossberg safety, but the pump lock is back there, and you can see this thing's brand new and it's still relatively smooth. Now, 12 gauge and 20 gauge shotguns do take practice, and they are a little bit more difficult to use than some things, but easily mastered even by young kids. I know this because I was shooting them again at around 12 to 14 years old. So they can be very effective in the right hands, and they're very, very cheap. And I would heavily recommend these two in particular, the H&R single shot or the Mossberg 88 for self-defense. If you're looking for a self-defense gun under $200, it's really difficult to go wrong with that, and there are very little situations that I can think of in real life where you couldn't handle them with this. And not only that, but they're a utility tool as well. It can be used for many different things, include hunting, including having fun on the range. And honestly, if you live in the country like I live, a lot of these guns get used for rodent disposal. Like, you have lots of different animals messing with your farm animals or whatever it may be, and you can handle those with these guns very effectively as well, which is why they've been multi-purpose guns all the way back to the frontier since the last 400 years or so. They're very effective then, and they're very effective now. Now that we've covered home defense, I kind of want to cover concealed carry. Now, concealed carry is going to be even more difficult because shotguns are cheap, they're very effective, but you can't carry one on you, so you do have to go to a pistol. And going to a pistol under $200 can be very risky. There are a few that I would recommend, but with some caveats. I want to talk about the Ruger Wrangler or the Heritage Firearms single action 22 revolvers. Now, this is not a great gun for self-defense, but it is better than a sharpened stick, and the reason for that is because a gun is still a gun, and if the aim is true, the results are true. Oh, we got it.
Oh my God.
Just because it's a $200 six gun doesn't mean it can't do 75. 130, 135 yards with a $200 .22 revolver.
Got it.
Little to the right again.
Yes.
22s have been dropping people for a very long time. And now I know that's not going to be as good as 9s, it's not going to be good at 380. You're not going to get as good of penetration. However, you are still going to get effectiveness if necessary. You know, people always shit on old stuff, and I always try to showcase that old stuff's still effective. Because when I was a kid, you know, while everybody was running the ghost ring sights and all that stuff, I still had a bead on my shotgun, and we were shooting 2-liter balls at 100 yards all day in cornfields. So, I mean, sometimes you can just make shit work. It is a possibility, and you can find these for under $100. Now, is this the go-to self-defense tool or pistol that you'd want? Absolutely not, but it is okay. Now enter what I would recommend, the Taurus G3 or G2C, whichever one that you can find. Now, are these absolutely 100% reliable? Nope. But are they a semi-automatic pistol that's 99% reliable that you can get for under $200 that has decent features? It is the right size to be carried all day, and you can also use it for home defense at home. On top of that, it does have a double stack magazine of 12 to 15 rounds. That's pretty effective and pretty good for the $200 price point, and it's pretty tough to go wrong. Now, I have had some failures with these, and out of, I think, like the 6 of these that my wife and I have had, we have had one that needed to be sent back and fixed. That being said, you're looking at the $200 price point, and it is extremely difficult to find a good semi-automatic pistol for that price. The other option is going to be the high point, and while high points can sometimes be reliable, the ergonomics are very difficult to deal with. They are very hard to shoot. They have a single stack magazine. They have more recoil than almost any other pistol, and they use a very outdated action with a very bad trigger. So if you get one of these, you're going to have to practice a lot, and practice is going to suck. It's not going to be fun, and you're not going to be good with it. The Taurus G Series is a lot better. It's a lot better than the high point. As a matter of fact, it uses standard Browning tilt design. It has a double action trigger, so you can train with it all the time. So check this out. I don't have to reset the trigger at all, and it just keeps on ticking. Which means that you don't have to expend a lot of cost at home to train with this gun. You buy this gun, you carry it all day. At night, you dump the magazine, you make sure the gun's not loaded, right? You point it in a safe direction, and then comes in our dry fire practice. You dry fire practice every day, and then once a week or once a month, you go to the range and you vet that, and you can become a very experienced pistolero for a very low cost. You put $200 into the gun, $100 into ammunition, do a lot of dry fire practice, and you will be a very effective steward of concealed carry, and you will not only be able to protect yourself, but you will be able to protect other people in public that might not be able to as well. So I think that if you are going to go the $200 price point and you have to get a new firearm, you can find these for that cost, and I think they are a good buy for the money. Now, you're gonna go for a used gun, and you're gonna get lucky. You know, we did the Mossberg 88. Well, if you do get lucky with the used guns, you could find a Generation 2 or a Generation 3 Glock trade-in. Usually they're going to be in .40 caliber because they're usually police issue trade-ins that they no longer want. They've shot a lot of rounds through them, and they've upgraded to something better. Well, that's good news for you, because usually Generation 2 and 3 Glocks work very well even with 60, 70,000 rounds through them, and at most you're going to have to change some springs or maybe get a new magazine, and you're going to be able to carry a very effective platform for very cheap. Now, you can get those at pawn shops, you can get those at gun stores sometimes, but you're never going to be able to find them new. But again, used Glocks, and especially used Generation 1 M&Ps, which I absolutely recommend, are very effective, and they can be had well under the $300 price point and sometimes under the $200 price point, just like the M&P shields. The Generation 1 M&P shield is a single stack option instead of the Plus series, which is what I actually carry, but it has all the same ergonomics and all the same reliability, and oftentimes you can find those used for under $200 as well. So if you get lucky, definitely take a shot with the Glock or the M&P or maybe the Mossberg 88. And if you're looking for a new gun and you're not interested in used, I would recommend the H&R single shots and sometimes double barrels, but I have had issues with those. And I also would heavily recommend the Taurus G Series, just simply because we've got several thousand round reviews of those, and they seem to be really good for the money. And again, under the $200 price point, it's very difficult to find anything effective. Occasionally you can find something like a Ruger Security 9, which is, I would recommend that as well, but it's very rare. So hopefully this helped you guys out, and hopefully this answered some questions. It's kind of the best I can do for under $200, but everybody deserves the right to defend themselves regardless of their budget. So hopefully this helped you. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please support Oklahoma shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.